In this short video, I'd like to go through how to draw a tile with a repeated shape. So what I mean is that imagine I have a tile, and in the problems you've all been given, they're all 100 by 100. And in this tile, imagine it's broken up into a repeated pattern of some kind occupying and filling this tile. Now, what occupies this, let's just spread it, could be a complex shape. So imagine that that's the shape I'm interested in. Okay, now the reason I've chosen this shape for this video is that it's a polygon, and a polygon, the logic of this particular video will make a lot of sense. So the idea here is that I want to draw one of these at each of these locations. So there are two levels to this problem. A, how do you draw this shape here? And how do you draw it and create a sort of function so I can draw it at different places? First of all, let's get our shape. Okay, it's going to occupy, let's say it's going to be 5 by 5, so it's 20 width and 20. So I'm going to have on my tile, 5 by 5. Okay, so there's my tile. And this shape is going to sit inside. So the shape is something like this. Let's just sketch it out. This shape is a polygon, and it's made up of a number of points. So if I circle in blue each of the points, you will see that this is quite a big one. There are quite a few points. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I counted that correctly. Now, a triangle is a polygon which just has 3 points. A rectangle or a diamond is one with 4 points, and so on. The logic of this particular video is this point here. Let me just change my color and emphasize the point. See this top left-hand corner? This is absolutely critical. You need to always build the shape in relation to that point there. Because if you build that shape in relation to this point here, you will guarantee two things. First of all, I can give you this point anywhere on a screen and you'll be able to draw me this shape, 20 by 20. And that's what you need to be able to do to fill this tile in the corner evenly by this shape. So how do you do it? Well, before I move on to another video, let's agree on a couple of things. What I want to do is, using this as my reference point, this corner here, we're going to work out where each of these points are in terms of their x and y value. Now, when you do a point in Python, you use the word point, you pass it to something, P1 perhaps, P2, and you put in here some x value and y value. X corresponds to the horizontal and y to the vertical, like that. So keep that in mind as we try to construct this polygon. So here's my shape, right? I'm going to squeeze it up a bit and then draw it. Sketch it into here, right? And I've said that it's 20 by 20. Bear with me a second. Okay, that's number 1, 2. So if we number these, 2, 3, 4, 0.5, 0.6, 7, and 8. So let's draw a little grid over here so we can see what these values are. So there's your point. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. That's going to be the x value and the y value. Now here's a crucial element. We are working those x and y values relative to that point in yellow. And that point in yellow will always be x0, y0. So what that essentially means that each of these values or these points will be that added or just the same as that. So what that means is that this is going to be x0 plus, x0 plus, and so on. This one's going to be y0 plus, and y0 plus, and so on and so forth, right? So let's work it out. Let's clear the general one out and do a few points. First point is this one here, 1. So I'm going to make a bit of a suggestion that if you take this length at 20 and split it, so there's a 5 gap in the middle, takes, or should we make that 10? Let's make it 10, 10, and, well, 10. If we're going to do that, that's no good, so bear with me a second. So the numbers are quite awkward because I've got a 20 here. So let's just get these numbers right. Hang on, these aren't rubbing out. Right, so if I say that 7, and that little gap there is 6, that gives it 14, 20, right? So it's 6 across here and it's 7 to there. So look at the first point, this one up here. It is x plus, what's that distance? We said it's 7. So the very first value is going to be x naught plus 7. It doesn't matter, now what's interesting is it doesn't matter where this is being drawn, because this x0 will always contain that. What's its y value for point number 1? Its y value is essentially just y0, because there's nothing coming down from that top edge. Let's have a look at point number 2. Point number 2 is a little bit further along. It's 7 plus 6, so its point is going to be x0 plus 13, and it's going to be y0. Point 3 is over here. Its x value is the complete width plus x0, and the width is 20. And the distance coming down, using the same logic here, is going to be y0 plus 7. So that's how you build up all your points. I'm not going to go through all of them. Once you've built up all your points, point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, you can then use the polygon constructor and you pass in your points depending on how many you have. Then you would draw your polygon on a window and fill it and so on. These two lines of code would sit underneath the code which defines the point from the previous videos. So, you know, above these two lines would be the definition of P1, P2 using the previous video. So we would end up with a function which said something like this: draw shape, going to give it x0, y0, and some other bits and pieces. And inside it's going to define each of the points as we were doing before. Then it's going to create the polygon using the points. Then it's going to draw the polygon using the window. So the point is entirely this draw shape will then be allowed to draw anywhere we like because I'm giving it that top left hand corner.